Hey there, and welcome to Family Revenge. We're so glad you're here. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you can stay with us for every twist and turn. Let's jump right in. I was sitting in my car outside the Walgreens where I worked, just staring at the steering wheel like it might tell me what the hell to do with my life. My shift had ended an hour ago, but I couldn't bring myself to drive home yet. My feet hurt, my back was killing me, and I was still pissed off about a customer who screamed at me over expired coupons. Typical Tuesday. Then my phone buzzed. It was my grandma. I sat up straighter, heart skipping a beat. She didn't usually call me this late. Hey, Grandma, everything okay? There was a pause. Her voice sounded shaky. Rachel, honey, are you feeling any better? I blinked. What do you mean? I'm fine. She sounded confused. Well, your mom told me you were really sick, that you couldn't come to Ben's wedding. I sat there frozen, like the air had been sucked out of the car. What wedding? I asked. Ben's wedding, last weekend. Your brother got married. My hand started to tremble. I gripped the steering wheel tighter. Ben got married last weekend? I thought you knew, she said quietly. I assumed you were just too ill to come. I felt like I'd been punched in the chest. Quick note, before we start, how's your day going and where are you joining from? I forced a laugh, but it came out jagged. No, Grandma, I didn't even know he was engaged. Another pause. Oh, Rachel? I'm so sorry. I never would have brought it up if I'd known. My throat felt dry. It's not your fault. But inside, something cracked open. They'd lied. My own parents lied to my grandmother and told her I was too sick to go. Not just forgot to invite me, lied. That's when it hit me like a freight train. They didn't forget. They left me out on purpose. Ben got married, my entire family was there, and no one even told me it was happening. Not a word. And they made up some bullshit excuse to cover it. My pulse was thudding in my ears. I couldn't think straight. Rachel? Are you okay? I gotta go, Grandma, I muttered. I'll call you tomorrow. I ended the call without waiting for her response. I sat there, breathing hard, heart slamming against my ribs. My cheeks burned with shame and fury. How long had they been planning this? How many people were in on it? They'd cut me out completely, like I didn't exist. I threw the car into gear and peeled out of the parking lot, tires squealing as I turned onto the road. I wasn't going home. I needed answers. I drove with one hand gripping the wheel and the other clenched in my lap, white-knuckled. My stomach was in knots, and the more I thought about it, the worse it got. This wasn't just about the wedding. This had been building for years. I just hadn't let myself face it until now. Ben's always been the golden boy. Everyone knew it. Back in middle school, he could throw a football. And suddenly he was God's gift to our family. My dad practically built a shrine to him in the den, trophies, framed jerseys, newspaper clippings. He'd bring people over just to show off Ben's highlight reels like it was ESPN. Meanwhile, I brought home a science fair trophy in 8th grade. My mom stuck it on the shelf next to a fake plant. No photo, no bragging rights, just a quick, good job, honey, like I'd baked a decent batch of cookies. In high school, it was the same story. Ben made varsity as a freshman, and they bought him a new car before he turned 17. I graduated with honors, gave a damn speech at the ceremony, and my parents barely looked up from their phones. I still remember my dad saying, "Well, you always were the bookish one," like it was a personality defect. At first, I tried harder, got a part-time job, saved up, took care of Grandma when she had surgery, never complained. But no matter what I did, I always came second. Scratch that, I came invisible. Even after college, when I landed my first real job and worked my way up to assistant manager, my mom called it cute, like it was a hobby. Like it wasn't real compared to Ben working for one of Dad's golfing buddies. And Ben, he coasted through life. Never stressed, never hustled. When he got arrested for drunk driving in his 20s, my parents paid the fine and made it disappear. When I needed help with student loans, they said I should have applied for more scholarships. I kept thinking maybe I was the problem. Maybe if I just did one more thing, one more promotion, one more achievement, they'd finally look at me the way they looked at him. But this, not even telling me he was getting married, it felt like they'd finally said out loud what they've always shown me. You don't matter. And I knew deep down, they wouldn't even feel bad about it. They'd justify it. Say I'd been distant, or that I wouldn't have enjoyed the crowd. Some made-up reason to excuse the fact that they erased me from my own family's memory. It stung in a way that I couldn't explain. Not like a slap. More like a slow bleed. The kind that leaves you dizzy before you even realize how much you've lost. All those years of trying to be enough. For what? A pat on the back? A seat at the table? And then there was Ben. I could picture his smug face, holding his wife's hand, posing for pictures while my parents beamed like proud royalty. They never once asked if I wanted to be there, never even gave me the chance to say no. They decided for me, again, and this time, they didn't just forget me, they removed me. I pulled into my apartment parking lot, headlights cutting through the dark. My knuckles were still tight around the wheel. I sat there a minute, heart racing, teeth clenched. The radio was still playing softly, some pop song I didn't recognize, but I couldn't hear a word of it. I was done pretending this was normal. Whatever spell I'd been under, it broke the second my grandma said, "Ben's wedding." I shut off the engine, grabbed my bag, and slammed the door behind me. I dropped my keys on the kitchen counter harder than I meant to. My bag hit the floor. Shoes kicked off. I didn't even take off my jacket. I just grabbed my laptop from the table and opened it like I was ripping the lid off a coffin. I needed to see it. If they really did this, if they left me out of the biggest day of my brother's life, then I wanted it in my face. No more guessing, no more giving them the benefit of the doubt. I wanted proof that I was right to be pissed. I opened Facebook and typed Ben Carter. His profile popped up immediately. Same smug headshot from his company page, that fake professional smile he always puts on for clients. His account wasn't private. Of course it wasn't. Ben wanted the world to see how perfect his life was. The first photo punched me straight in the gut. There he was, in a black tux, grinning like a damn toothpaste ad, hand in hand with his new bride. Blonde, flawless, wearing one of those over-the-top gowns that looked like it belonged on a movie set. And standing right next to him, Mom and Dad. Mom in a champagne-colored dress with matching heels, holding a bouquet like she was part of the bridal party. Dad in a tailored gray suit, hand on Ben's shoulder, beaming with pride like this was the peak of his existence. My throat went dry. I clicked to the next one. There was a shot of the church. Massive, old stone, candles lit, flowers everywhere. No expense spared. Then the reception hall. High ceilings, chandeliers, a wall of glass overlooking the hills. Guests everywhere. Dozens of people. Our cousins from Oregon. Uncle Ray and Aunt Donna from Texas. Even my mom's old college roommate. People I hadn't seen since I was a teenager. People who hadn't spoken to me in years, but they were all there. Laughing, toasting, dancing. I wasn't in a single frame. No invite. No mention. No empty seat with my name on it. It wasn't some small elopement. It wasn't just family or a last-minute thing. It was a damn production. They rented a mansion. There was a damn ice sculpture. They'd been planning this for months. And somehow, all those people got the invite, but not me. I kept scrolling. My fingers started to tremble, but I couldn't stop. Every picture was another punch, another slap in the face, another reminder that I wasn't welcome. Ben giving a speech. My dad wiping a tear. Mom dancing with him like it was prom night. Even Grandma made it, sitting front row in her best Sunday dress. But me? Nothing. Not a word. Not even a tag. I clicked over to my mom's page. Same thing. Albums titled Ben's Big Day and Our Beautiful New Daughter-in-Law. I searched the comments. People gushed over the photos, said it looked like a dream, said my parents must be so proud. Not one mention of me. No, wish Rachel could have come. No, missing our girl today. It was like I didn't exist, like they'd scrubbed me out of the family entirely. I slammed the laptop shut and pushed it across the table. I stood up, pacing the kitchen, my whole body buzzing. My chest felt tight. My face was hot. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a miscommunication. They made a choice. They chose to leave me out, and they didn't even try to hide it. I stopped pacing and stared at the dark window. My reflection looked like a stranger. Eyes wide, lips pressed tight, jaw clenched. I wasn't imagining it. I wasn't being dramatic. They left me behind, deliberately, and now that I knew for sure, there was no going back. I grabbed my keys again, this time with a different grip, not trembling, steady, focused, cold. I didn't care what time it was. I was going to get in my car and drive straight to their house. I needed to look them in the eye, needed to hear the lie from their own mouths. I didn't even put on real shoes. Just slid into my old sneakers and left the laptop sitting open on the kitchen table, one of Ben's wedding photos frozen on the screen like it was mocking me. The drive felt like I was on autopilot. One red light, 2 turns, then I was pulling into the same driveway I'd grown up in. Same porch lights, same mailbox with the dent in the side. But it didn't feel like home anymore, not even close. I didn't knock. I yanked the door open and stepped inside like I owned the place. My mom was in the kitchen drying dishes. She turned fast, startled, the towel still in her hands. Rachel, what are you? You didn't invite me to Ben's wedding, I said, loud enough to echo off the cabinets. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out at first. She set the dish towel down slowly, like I might be holding a gun. Honey, we didn't think you'd want to come. I stared at her. You didn't think I'd want to come? To my brother's wedding? She glanced toward the hallway like she wished someone would save her. You've always said you don't like big events. We figured it would be too much. Don't do that, I snapped. Don't act like you did this for me. You didn't even give me a chance. Her hands shook as she picked up the towel again, uselessly folding it. It was complicated, Rachel. Ben's crowd is, well, it's not really your scene. What the hell does that mean? Footsteps behind me. I didn't even have to turn around. I already knew who it was. My dad stepped into the kitchen like he'd been listening the whole time. It means Ben's career has put him in a different circle now, he said, cool as ever. We didn't want you to feel uncomfortable around people who wouldn't relate to you. I stared at him. Relate to me? I have a full-time job, my own place. I've handled everything in my life without your help. But you think I wouldn't be good enough for your precious guest list? He shrugged like this was all beneath him. It wasn't about being good enough. It's about knowing your place. I laughed. Sharp. Ugly. My place? Guess it's outside the family now. That's when Ben strolled in, like this was just another night. Fresh haircut, that same cocky smile he's worn since high school. Oh good, he said, leaning against the doorframe. The meltdown's finally here. I turned to him, furious. Why didn't you invite me? He gave a slow shrug. We knew it'd be awkward. You and I don't really click. Didn't want drama on our big day. I took one step toward him. You didn't want drama? So you lied to Grandma, left me out, and scrubbed me from the guest list like I was dead? You're overreacting, he said, still smirking. It was a wedding, not a court hearing. Something snapped. The last bit of me that still wanted to be accepted, forgiven, loved, it broke clean. Good, because when I get married, none of you will be there. My mom gasped. My dad rolled his eyes. Ben didn't flinch. Dad stepped closer. And who exactly are you marrying, Rachel? You've never even had a real relationship. I looked him dead in the eye. You'll find out when you see the pictures online. Then I turned and walked out, not bothering to close the door behind me. Let them stand there with their perfect little lies and polished excuses. I didn't cry. I didn't pause. I just kept walking. I drove straight home without turning on the radio. No noise, no distractions. I needed the silence to keep from screaming. My hands were still tight around the steering wheel when I pulled into my parking spot. I didn't move for a full minute. My body was back in my apartment complex, but my head was still in that kitchen, replaying their faces. My mom's fake guilt, Dad's smug dismissal, Ben's little smirk like he was the star of a show, and I was the crowd he never invited. I finally made it inside and dropped my purse on the floor. Didn't even bother picking it up. I walked over to the couch and just sat. Shoes still on, coat still zipped. The anger had started to cool, but what was left underneath burned worse. This quiet ache I didn't want to admit was there. They didn't know me. They never did. Everything I'd done, everything I'd built, they never saw it, never cared. When I got promoted to assistant manager last fall, I texted the family group chat. Just a quick update and a smiley face. My mom replied 3 hours later with a, "That's nice, sweetie," and my dad said nothing. Meanwhile, Ben landed some partnership deal, and they threw a whole dinner party, invited neighbors, posted about it for days. I bought this condo on my own. No cosigner, no help. I saved for 5 years, worked double shifts, skipped vacations. My mom still refers to it as your little apartment, like I'm playing house. They don't ask about my job. They don't know who my boss is. Hell, they don't even know what I do most days. They've never seen where I work, never visited. But Ben breathes near a golf course, and my dad practically writes a press release. I've been living a full life, a damn good one. Not perfect, but mine. And they erased me like I never existed. I glanced at my phone. There were no missed calls, no messages, nothing from them. But one name popped into my head, and just thinking about him made the tightness in my chest let up a little. Mark. He's been in my life for almost a year now. Quiet, steady, real. We met at a volunteer event. He was there with his niece, and I was helping organize. We bonded over how bad the coffee was and haven't stopped talking since. Mark doesn't care about status or titles. He listens when I talk about my job. He asks questions. He remembers the answers. When I told him I'd finally paid off my car loan, he brought over champagne and takeout. My parents would have barely blinked. He's the first person who's ever made me feel like I'm enough without having to prove it. No performance, no checklist. I thought about calling him, telling him everything: how I barged into the house, how Dad said I didn't belong, how Ben laughed in my face, but I didn't move. Not yet. Not because I didn't trust him, but because I needed to hold this moment in my own hands first. I needed to sit with the truth and not rush to soften it with someone else's comfort. They never cared. Not really. Not about who I was or what I wanted, only about how I made them look. And now that I didn't fit the image anymore, they dropped me. But I hadn't dropped me. Everything I had, this place, my job, my peace, I earned without them. That realization didn't fix everything, but it gave me something solid to stand on, something that was mine. I stood up, finally took off my coat, and walked to the kitchen. Opened the fridge, pulled out a soda, and took a long drink. Then I picked up my phone. I didn't text Mark, not yet, but I saved his name at the top of my favorites, because when I was ready to talk, I knew damn well he'd be the one who deserved to hear it. The next evening, I finally picked up my phone and texted Mark. "Can you come over? Need to talk." His response came in less than a minute. On my way. He showed up 20 minutes later with a six-pack and that look he gets when he knows something's wrong but won't push it. That's the thing about Mark. He never pries, but he never disappears either. We sat on the couch, beers unopened, the quiet thick between us. I stared down at my hands, chewing the inside of my cheek, trying to figure out where to start. "I went to my parents last night," I said finally. My voice came out flatter than I expected. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "Yeah?" "They didn't invite me to Ben's wedding. Lied to my grandma, told her I was sick. Whole family showed up. I wasn't even told." Mark didn't jump in. He let me talk. I confronted them, walked in, straight up asked them why. My mom gave me some crap excuse about me not liking crowds. Dad basically said I don't belong in Ben's world now. And Ben, he said it would have been awkward if I showed up. I let the words hang there, ugly and raw. Mark exhaled slowly. "Damn. Yeah," I muttered. Whole thing just confirmed what I already knew. I'm not part of their little trophy family. I never was. He looked at me like I wasn't broken, like I hadn't just been gutted. "You know none of that's about you, right? That's them, their messed up priorities, their empty standards." I felt my throat tighten. Still hurts, though. I know it does, but their approval doesn't define you. What you've built, that's yours. And if they can't see it, that's on them. I looked at him then, really looked. "You ever feel like I'm not enough for you?" He blinked. "What?" "Rachel, no, not once." I shrugged. "I don't know. I guess I've spent so much time proving myself, I don't even know what it feels like to just be enough." He shifted closer. "Let's build something better than that. Something that doesn't run on guilt or comparison." I smiled, a small one, but real. "You serious?" He reached out and took my hand. "Completely. Whatever we build, it's us, not them." I hadn't meant to say it. It just came out. "I want to marry you." He didn't flinch, didn't laugh or freeze or make it weird. "I've been thinking the same thing," he said. "Let's do it right. For us." "Even if it pisses everyone off?" He smirked. "Especially then." I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding and leaned my head on his shoulder. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I wasn't fighting alone. Mark's shoulder was warm under my head. We sat there a while, not talking, just breathing in sync like we had nothing left to prove. After everything, the silence felt earned, safe. Then he said, "So, where do we start?" I sat up and looked at him. "You serious? Like now?" He nodded. "Why not?" "Unless you want to wait." "No," I said quickly. "I don't want to wait. I want this." We grabbed my laptop off the coffee table and started browsing venues. Nothing flashy. No city skylines, no ballrooms, no $200 per plate setups. We skipped the ones with marble floors and French names. I didn't want a performance. I wanted real. We found a little place tucked up in the Blue Ridge Mountains, an old lodge with a big wraparound porch, wildflowers everywhere, and a view that didn't need editing. The pictures showed wood beams, long picnic tables, and a giant oak tree in the back where couples exchanged vows. It looked quiet, peaceful, untouched by people like my father or Ben or any of the fake smiles they wore like suits. This, I said, pointing at the screen, this feels like us. Mark leaned in. Let's book it. I clicked reserve before I could second guess it. It was ours, just like that. We started building the guest list right there on a legal pad. My grandma went at the top without hesitation, then a few cousins I hadn't seen in a while, the ones who always sent birthday cards even when the rest of the family stopped. Then my old college roommate and her fiancé, a couple of friends from work, people who'd shown up for me, not just when it was convenient, but when it actually mattered. Mark added his parents and his two sisters. They loved me. His mom always called me sweetheart and made me drink tea I didn't like. His dad gave me a hard time about sports, but always made sure I got the last piece of pie. They weren't perfect, but they saw me. That was enough. The list stayed short, just over 20 names. I stared at it for a while, chewing on the pen cap. Mark looked up. You're thinking about them, aren't you? I didn't answer right away. Should I invite them? My parents? Ben. He didn't rush me, just waited. I don't know, I said. Feels weird to have a wedding and not invite your own family. He tilted his head. Is that what you want? Or is that what you think people expect you to want? I hated how fast the truth came out. I don't want them there. Then don't invite them. I nodded slowly. But what if they find out? Make it a thing? They already made it a thing, he said. They wrote you off. You're just deciding not to give them front row seats this time. Ayaba, that hit. Because it was true. I took a breath, picked up a red pen, and wrote, "Do not invite" in the margin next to their names. I felt lighter, like I'd been carrying their weight in my chest for years and finally dropped the damn load. This wedding wasn't about proving anything, not to them, not anymore. It was about choosing who gets a seat at the table, my table, and I wasn't handing out chairs to people who spent their lives reminding me I didn't belong. Mark leaned over and kissed my temple. Proud of you? I looked at him and smiled. I'm proud of me too. Later that night, I curled up on the couch with my blanket, our list on the coffee table, the mountain venue pulled up on my laptop, and the quiet hum of a life I built from scratch surrounding me. Their absence wasn't a hole anymore. It was space. Space I could finally fill with people who chose me back. The morning air in the mountains smelled like pine and dirt. Clean, quiet, honest. I stood in the tiny back room of the lodge, staring at myself in the mirror. No makeup artist, no fancy glam team, just me, my dress, and my grandmother pinning the last bobby pin into my hair with steady hands. You look beautiful, baby, she said softly, voice cracking just a little. I smiled. Thanks, Grandma. She took my hand and squeezed it, then gave me this look, one I hadn't seen since I was a kid, the kind that says you're doing just fine, no matter what the world thinks. Outside the window, the guests were taking their seats, just a few rows of folding chairs on the grass under that giant oak tree we picked months ago. No flashy music, just the breeze, birds in the distance, and the sound of real people laughing and hugging. Mark's sisters helped guide folks to their seats. My college roommate was snapping pictures with her phone. His mom stood near the porch with a mason jar full of lemonade, already crying. No tension, no performance, no tight smiles for photos. Just love, real and quiet. Someone knocked on the door. You ready? It was Mark's dad. Grandma looked at me. I'd be honored to walk with you. We stepped out together, and everything inside me slowed down. As we walked down that short, grassy aisle, people stood, not because they were supposed to, but because they wanted to. I locked eyes with Mark, standing there in a simple dark suit. Nothing flashy, no stupid boutonniere, just him, looking at me like I was everything. That's when it hit me. This moment, this was the family I had waited my whole damn life for. Right here. Mark reached out and took my hand when I got to the front. You look amazing, he whispered. You're not so bad yourself. Our officiant was an old friend of his, calm, kind, and easygoing. The ceremony wasn't long, no dramatic speeches, no performative readings, just truth. We exchanged vows we wrote ourselves. Mine wasn't poetic, it was honest. I've spent a long time thinking I had to earn love, that I had to prove I was good enough. But with you, I don't have to prove anything. I just get to be me. And that's the best thing I've ever been given. Mark's hand shook just slightly as he slid the ring onto my finger. His voice cracked when he said, "I promise to choose you every time, no matter what. I promise to be your safe place, not your test." There wasn't a dry eye in the crowd. When we kissed, it wasn't fireworks. It was something better, something settled and right. Like I'd finally exhaled a breath I didn't know I was holding my whole life. After the ceremony, we ate barbecue on paper plates under string lights. People danced in sneakers and sandals. No speeches, no stage toasts, just laughter, hugs, and the kind of happiness that doesn't have to be polished to shine. Mark's mom hugged me 3 separate times. His dad called me kiddo and promised to teach me how to grill. My cousins told me how proud they were. My roommate said she hadn't seen me smile like this in years. And my grandma? She sat next to me for most of the night, holding my hand like it was the most natural thing in the world. The night cooled off, and we lit a small fire out back. Someone passed around blankets. Mark wrapped one around my shoulders and kissed the side of my head. I looked around at the faces glowing in the firelight. My people. There was no gap, no hole, no sense of what was missing. There was only what I'd chosen, what I'd built, and it was everything. The morning after the wedding, I woke up to my phone blowing up. 10 missed calls, 4 voicemails, a dozen angry texts. All from my parents and Ben. My mom's first message was a guilt trip in full force. "I cannot believe you left us out. What kind of daughter does that?" Then my dad chimed in. "You've embarrassed this family. Everyone's asking why we weren't there. You made us look like strangers." Ben's was short and smug. "Real classy, Rach. Hope the hillbilly vibe was worth it." I stared at the screen, still in my robe, barefoot, coffee in hand. The same hand that now wore a wedding band. I didn't reply. Not one word. They didn't deserve my reaction, and I didn't owe them a damn thing. Mark walked into the kitchen and saw my face. "They finally woke up, huh?" "Yep," I said, tossing my phone face down on the counter. "And I'm not answering." He smiled and poured me more coffee. "Good." An hour later, my dad went public. He posted this dramatic crap on Facebook. Some long rant about being left behind by his own daughter, how it was the hardest day of his life not to walk me down the aisle. Played the victim perfectly. He even used an old picture of us when I was 6, holding his hand. But here's the thing. Mark's mom saw it. So did his sisters, and they weren't having it. His oldest sister clapped back in the comments, calling out my dad's absence, the years of silence, the way he ignored my accomplishments while bragging about my brother's golf swing. His mom wrote, "Being a parent means showing up every day, not just for photo ops." The post came down within the hour, quietly, no apology, no explanation. Just gone. A few months later, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I let it go to voicemail. It was Ben. He needed a reference. Apparently, someone at my company now worked at his firm. He thought I could put in a good word. I played the message once, rolled my eyes, and deleted it. No callback, no second thought. The girl who used to jump through hoops for their approval, she didn't live here anymore. Now I had people who showed up, who clapped when I won, who stayed when things got hard. I had Mark. I had Grandma. I had a life I built with my own hands, not handed to me with conditions. And for the first time, I wasn't chasing anyone's approval. I was exactly where I was meant to be.